All right, this session we're going to do smoked turkey end to end on the big green egg, getting cranked up and ready for the holidays. The most important part of smoking a turkey is A, the brine process, and B, keeping the temperature at about 225 and having the right wood, which we'll talk about more later. But the first step is the brine process. You can buy brine kits from your local grocery store, or you can make your own. A lot of people don't brine them. I personally think it breaks down the meat a little bit more and adds a lot more flavor and tenderness and juiciness. So you can just use kosher salt and sugar, which a lot of people do. My recipe calls for a little bit more. So if you look here and below on the link below, you'll have the recipe right there for all the ingredients and the amounts. But on the left, you've got molasses, you've got thyme, you got black pepper, kosher salt, rosemary, shrimp and crab boil. That's optional. I think it gives a little kick, especially if you're down in the south. Worcestershire sauce and sugar, and then whatever turkey you want. So this is about a 16-pound turkey, and you're going to take 2 gallons of water and basically take all those ingredients that I just mentioned and mix them up. Do lukewarm water, don't do cold water. Lukewarm water helps break up some of the spices a little bit better, gets that ready. And you'll notice that's just a bucket from Home Depot. Yes, it's a clean bucket from Home Depot. Make sure you clean all of your stuff, especially poultry and pork. Keep it sanitary. And then basically what you're going to do is you're just going to take that bird, you're going to submerge it in there, and you'll notice it's not submerged. What I like to do is I like to take a brick or something heavy, put it in a gallon Ziploc, and put it on top of that, and that'll submerge it overnight. And then you want to cover this with either foil or cellophane. So I'm going to take that, put the brick in there, cover it, let it sit for 12 hours, and then in the morning take it out and get the smoker ready, and it'll be ready to go. Alright, good morning. The turkey has brined overnight, and I've prepped the grill, cleaned out below very good, and I've filled it with hickory and lump charcoal. I like to use hickory or maple for smoking a turkey. Those are the 2 woods I recommend, hickory or maple. I definitely would stay away from a mesquite or an oak, something that would penetrate the meat too much. So I've got my matchstick in there. Remember, low and slow, we're going to get this thing to 225 and regulate it. So you don't want to use a firebox or anything to start it. Just use a regular matchstick. Pile that charcoal on. And after it gets going, I'll put the wood in, and there's wood layers, you know, all the way down there. Watch the other video on how to light the big green egg if you need some tips on that and how much charcoal and how much wood you could see. But you know, as you can see, I've done almost 50-50 lump charcoal to wood. Some people think it's too much smoke, and I can promise you it's not. So I'm gonna let that fire up for about 12 minutes, and then I'll close the lid and start regulating the heat. Alright, so while that grill's getting ready, taking the turkey out of the brine here. Just going to put it in the sink. You want to really wash off all that brine. Unlike other meats where you put the rub on, the brine's penetrating. It's not going to stay on the skin, so you just want to make sure you give it a good rinse. Inside and out. I'm going to pat that dry, put it on this cookie sheet, and I'll show you the next step. Alright, the last step in prepping the bird is putting a little bit of butter and seasoning on it. Now you'll notice I took this bird out right before I put it on. You don't want it to get to room temperature like you do beef and pork. You can put it on cold. So all I do is melt about a half a stick butter in a bowl and add a couple teaspoons of this Tony's saffron. You get it at the grocery store. And I'm just going to generously baste this turkey. And that is the only seasoning I'm going to put on it. I'll show you what I'm going to do with some butter during the grilling process. But really the key to the flavor of this is the brine, which we've already done. A little bit of this will get some flavor for the outside bites, but really that brine is what gives it the flavor. This butter helps it keep it moist and adds a little tenderness. Basically, you just want to apply that all over and then wait for your grill to get ready and you're ready to put it on. All right. So this thing is regulating quite nice. Quite a bit of smoke coming out of there. So I'm going to rearrange this. Get the wood kind of in the center on the top of that. So as that charcoal burns down, that wood will start to simmer as well. Put the feet up on this, and like I usually do, put this back here. Heat rises out of the back of the big green egg, gets hotter back here, so this helps regulate the heat a little bit there. And I'm doing something a little bit unconventional. Get a stick of butter for my water pan, stick that in there, fill it up with water. That butter is going to melt and continue to vaporize inside that big green egg on the turkey during the smoke process. It's going to add just a little bit more moisture, a little bit more goodness and flavor. And I'm going to put the grill on there, shut it down, try to get it to the smoking configuration about there on that, and about that much down there, probably 1/4 of an inch. I'm gonna wait till that grill gets 225, and then I'm gonna put it on the turkey. All right, so that heat is regulated to about 225. So it's time to put on the bird. So I use these handy things from Cuisinart. You can get them probably anywhere to help pick up the bird. I like to put it in horizontal. Breast side back. Doesn't really matter on a turkey. You want to get it cooked evenly all the way through. And you noticed I did not inject this turkey. That's total personal preference for you. A lot of people in the South like to inject it. I personally don't care for it. It doesn't add that much flavor in my opinion, but some of them do. So I'm going to take my meat probe. I'm going to stick it in the thickest part of that turkey breast. I'm going to close this lid. I'm going to watch it. It should be about 30 minutes a pound, and you want to take it off when it's 175 degrees. Again, it's 30 minutes a pound, 175 degrees. So if you're dealing with a 14-pound turkey, for example, expect about 7 hours. So that is it. So I'm going to regulate that, and now you just put a cold bird in there, so the temperature is going to drop down for the first 30 minutes or so, and then it should regulate. But one word of caution: just because it dropped down doesn't mean you can open this up, because then your temp's going to get too high on you and it's going to be too late. So I'm going to regulate it just like I had it. That's about 1/4 of an inch, about 1/4 of an inch right there. I'm going to check it in about 30 minutes. If it's sitting under 200, I'll probably open this a little bit more, but more than likely it's gonna raise. Set it to 225, and I'm not gonna open that lid until that bird's at 175. All right, it's been about 7.5 hours. The internal temp of that bird is 175. And that is the first time I've opened the lid on this thing in about 7.5 hours. So I would say that's just about perfect. So you could take it off now and wrap it in foil and let it rest for a couple hours, or you could take it off and just let it sit for about 20-30 minutes to let the juices settle down and let it cool off a little bit and be ready to serve. But that's how you do it. Bon appetit.